Ladies and gentlemen, let us start with a simple yet profound truth: nothing in this world is free. It's a statement that might seem obvious, yet it holds layers of meaning that many overlook. When you unpack this idea, it becomes a lens through which to understand life's complexities, responsibilities, and potential. The notion that everything has a cost is one of the most fundamental truths of life, yet it's also one of the most overlooked. We live in a society that constantly tempts us with promises of ease, shortcuts, and rewards without effort. The allure of getting something for nothing is so pervasive that many of us fall into its trap, failing to see the invisible transactions at play in every decision we make. Yet the reality is inescapable: there's no such thing as a free lunch. Every choice we make, every goal we pursue, and every benefit we receive demands a price, whether we're aware of it or not. Consider, for example, the time you invest in your pursuits. Time is one of the most precious resources we have, and it is utterly finite. Every moment spent on one thing is a moment unavailable for something else. When you choose to scroll through social media for an hour, you pay with time that could have been spent building a skill, deepening a relationship, or simply resting to recharge. The true cost of that free entertainment isn't immediately visible. It's the opportunity you forfeited, the value you could have created but didn't. And over time, these small, unnoticed costs accumulate into larger deficits, shaping the trajectory of your life in ways you might not fully understand until it's too late. But it's not just time that we pay. There's an emotional and psychological currency as well. Let's think about relationships for a moment. A good relationship, whether with a partner, a friend, or a colleague, is never free. It requires effort, compromise, and often the humility to admit when you're wrong. If you're not willing to invest those things, the relationship will deteriorate. Now imagine expecting a strong, meaningful connection with someone without ever putting in the work. It doesn't happen. The cost of avoiding that effort is loneliness, resentment, or a series of shallow, unsatisfying interactions. Even our sense of identity comes at a cost. Who you are today, the values you hold, the skills you've developed, the dreams you chase was built through the sacrifices you've made along the way. Every achievement required you to give up something: comfort, security, or perhaps even parts of yourself you once held dear. When you decided to pursue a career, you sacrificed the freedom to explore other paths. When you committed to a cause or a relationship, you gave up alternative possibilities. These sacrifices weren't free, but they were necessary to create meaning and build a life that feels worthwhile. This concept applies on a societal level too. Consider the conveniences of modern life: technology, infrastructure, healthcare. None of these are free. They are the results of countless hours of labor, ingenuity, and sacrifice by people who came before us. Every road you drive on, every app you use, every piece of knowledge you access has a hidden cost. Sometimes that cost is monetary, paid through taxes or purchases. Other times it's borne through the sacrifices of those who worked tirelessly to create those systems. When we forget these costs, when we take them for granted, we risk losing the very things we benefit from. And let's not ignore the cost of inaction. There's a pervasive myth that doing nothing is neutral, that it somehow exempts you from paying a price. But doing nothing is often the most expensive choice of all. Failing to take responsibility for your life costs you growth and potential. Avoiding challenges costs you. Refusing to make a decision costs you the ability to shape your own destiny. Inaction has a way of compounding over time, and before you know it, you're burdened with the regret of all the things you didn't do. The insidious nature of these costs lies in how easy it is to ignore them. The price isn't always immediate or obvious. It's like a hidden tax, slowly draining your resources without your explicit consent. This is why it's so crucial to cultivate awareness. Ask yourself, what am I really paying for this? Not just in terms of money, but in terms of time, energy, and integrity. What am I sacrificing by choosing this path? And is the trade-off worth it? The answers to these questions aren't always comfortable, but they are necessary. By acknowledging that everything has a cost, you gain a powerful tool, the ability to choose your sacrifices wisely. Not all costs are bad, some are essential investments in your future. But if you fail to recognize the price you're paying, you risk wasting your most valuable resources on things that don't truly matter. The key is to be intentional, to weigh your options carefully, and to understand that every choice has consequences, whether you like it or not. Nothing in life comes for free, but that's not a cause for despair. It's a call to action, a reminder to take control of your decisions and to pay the price for things that truly matter. Because in the end, the cost of a meaningful life isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. The promise of something for nothing is perhaps one of the most enduring and deceptive illusions in human history. It appeals to our deepest desires for ease, comfort, and instant gratification. After all, who wouldn't want to gain without giving, to receive without effort, to achieve without sacrifice? But this seductive notion hides a harsh truth: nothing is truly free. Every so-called free reward carries a cost, whether it's visible or not. The real question isn't whether there's a price to pay, it's who is paying it, how, and when. Recognizing this is critical, not just to avoid being misled, but to make choices that are informed, intentional, and aligned with your values. Let's start with the most tangible form of the illusion: material goods and services. In today's world, companies, governments, and organizations frequently offer things labeled as free samples, free trials, free benefits. At first glance, these offers seem like gifts, opportunities to get something valuable without giving up anything in return. But dig a little deeper, and the true costs emerge. That free trial may lead to a subscription you forget to cancel, draining your finances over time. That free sample might hook you into a product that becomes an ongoing expense. Even when money isn't directly exchanged, your attention, your personal data, or your future purchasing power often become the hidden price. The deal wasn't free at all, it was a trade, one you may not have realized you were making. The same principle applies on a larger scale when we consider societal systems. Think about programs or services advertised as free by governments: free education, free healthcare, free public utilities. So, while these initiatives may be vital and beneficial, they are not without cost. The funding required to maintain them comes from somewhere, often in the form of taxes, debt, or trade-offs in other areas of public spending. The price might not be immediate or obvious, but it is there. Someone is paying for it, whether it's through their hard-earned income, reduced economic opportunities, or even compromises in other essential services. And when citizens fail to understand these underlying costs, they risk becoming disconnected from the realities of the systems that sustain them. The illusion of free doesn't just operate in material or economic realms, it infiltrates our psychological and social lives as well. Consider the ways people are drawn to the idea of effortless success. We're constantly bombarded with promises of shortcuts to wealth, fitness, happiness, or personal transformation. The message is clear: you can have it all, and you don't have to work for it. But the harsh reality is that these shortcuts rarely deliver what they promise. A crash diet might help you lose weight temporarily, but the underlying habits and health issues remain unaddressed. A get-rich-quick scheme might offer an initial windfall, but sustainable financial security requires disciplined planning and hard work. When you chase the illusion of effortless rewards, you often pay a far greater price in the form of wasted time, unmet expectations, and diminished self-worth. The hidden costs of free rewards also extend to our relationships. Think about the dynamics of trust and reciprocity. When someone offers their support, their time, or their kindness without expecting anything in return, it can feel like a gift. And in many cases, it is. But even in the purest acts of generosity, there's often an unspoken expectation of mutual respect, gratitude, or reciprocity. Relationships that function on a one-sided basis, where one party constantly gives while the other takes, are rarely sustainable. Over time, the imbalance erodes trust and fosters resentment. The cost of maintaining such relationships, though not monetary, can be profound emotional exhaustion, a loss of self-respect, or the disintegration of the bond altogether. Even more insidiously, the pursuit of free can erode our sense of accountability and agency. When people rely too heavily on the idea of receiving without contributing, they risk falling into a mindset of entitlement. This attitude can be corrosive both to the individual and to society as a whole. When you expect rewards without effort, you start to undervalue the very processes that create those rewards. You lose sight of the effort, sacrifice, and ingenuity required to build anything worthwhile. And when an entire community or culture begins to embrace this illusion, it leads to stagnation, resentment, and ultimately decay. The cost of this collective mindset is immeasurable. It's the loss of progress, creativity, and purpose. The antidote to this illusion is awareness. You must train yourself to see beyond the surface, to ask the hard questions: what's the real price here? Who is paying it? And am I truly comfortable with the trade-off? By confronting these questions honestly, you free yourself from the traps of instant gratification and false promises. You begin to understand that real value is rarely handed to you. It's earned through effort, intention, and sacrifice. And in that understanding lies a profound empowerment. You stop being a passive participant in your own life and start taking ownership of the choices you make and the costs you bear. Nothing is truly free. But that doesn't mean you should reject generosity, opportunity, or the help of others. It means you should approach these things with clarity and gratitude. Recognize the costs, honor the sacrifices, and ensure that you're willing to bear your share of the burden when necessary. Because the most meaningful rewards in life aren't those that come without a price. They're the ones you work for, invest in, and contribute to. And when you do, the value of what you gain far outweighs the cost. Then the logical response is to take responsibility for your life. This might sound like an obvious statement, but its depth is often underestimated. Responsibility is not just about completing tasks or meeting expectations. It's about owning your actions, your decisions, and the outcomes they create. It's about understanding that while the circumstances you find yourself in might not be your fault, responsibility is the foundation upon which all meaningful progress is built, and it's the currency through which you purchase a life of purpose and fulfillment. When you take responsibility, you accept that no one else is going to rescue you, fix your problems, or hand you the life you dream of on a silver platter. This realization can be both liberating and terrifying. On one hand, it strips away the illusion that you can wait for someone else, a parent, a boss, a partner, or even society to create the conditions for your happiness. On the other hand, it empowers you to act, to make choices, and to take control of your path. Responsibility is not a burden, it's an opportunity. It's the privilege of being the author of your own story. But responsibility has a cost, and that cost is effort. It's far easier to avoid it, to pass blame onto others, to insist that your failures are the result of external forces beyond your control. And sometimes those external forces are very real. Life can be unfair. People are born into circumstances that vary wildly in terms of opportunity, privilege, and resources. Yet even in the face of these disparities, the refusal to take responsibility leads to stagnation. Blaming others or waiting for the world to change doesn't improve your situation. It traps you in a cycle of dependency and resentment. Responsibility, on the other hand, is the act of saying, "This is where I am, but it's not where I'll stay." Taking responsibility also means making sacrifices. When you choose to focus on your goals, you give up distractions. When you commit to self-improvement, you surrender the comfort of complacency. Responsibility requires you to delay gratification, to endure hardship, and to face challenges head-on. But in doing so, you gain something far greater than what you lose: the ability to shape your future. Each sacrifice becomes an investment in yourself, a step toward becoming the person you want to be. And over time, these small, consistent efforts compound into something extraordinary. It's important to recognize that responsibility isn't just about individual effort, it's also about how you contribute to the world around you. When you take responsibility for your relationships, your work, or your community, you acknowledge that your actions have a ripple effect. Your choices don't exist in isolation, they influence the lives of others in ways both visible and unseen. By stepping up and taking ownership of your role, you become a force for positive change. You inspire trust, foster connection, and create a sense of purpose that extends beyond yourself. Responsibility, then, is not just a personal virtue, it's a social one. Yet many people shy away from responsibility because it involves risk. When you take responsibility, you open yourself up to failure. You can no longer hide behind excuses or point fingers when things go wrong. This vulnerability can be frightening, but it's also essential for growth. Failure is not the enemy, it's a teacher. Each setback provides an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to improve. When you avoid responsibility out of fear, you deny yourself the chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Responsibility and failure go hand in hand, but so do responsibility and success. Responsibility also brings clarity. When you accept that your life is in your hands, you stop wasting energy on things you can't control. Instead, you focus on what you can change: your actions, your mindset, your habits. This shift in perspective is incredibly empowering. It allows you to move from a state of helplessness to one of agency. You stop being a passive observer of your life and become an active participant. And with this clarity comes a deeper sense of meaning. Responsibility gives your life structure, direction, and purpose. Responsibility is the price of freedom. True freedom isn't the absence of obligations or challenges, it's the ability to navigate them with intention and integrity. Without responsibility, freedom becomes chaos, it lacks direction and substance. When you take responsibility, you create a framework within which freedom can thrive. You gain the ability to choose your path, to pursue your goals, and to live in alignment with your values. And while this freedom comes at a cost, it's a cost worth paying. The choice to take responsibility is one you must make every day. It's not a single act, but a continuous commitment. There will be times when it feels overwhelming, when the weight of your obligations seems too much to bear. But in those moments, remember, this responsibility is not just a duty, it's a gift. It's what allows you to create a life of meaning, to connect with others, and to leave a lasting impact on the world. So embrace it. Pay the price willingly, and watch as the investment transforms your life. Sacrifice is one of the most ancient and universal principles in human existence. Across cultures, religions, and histories, the concept of giving up something valuable to gain something even more meaningful has shaped the way people understand life, progress, and success. Sacrifice isn't just a relic of ancient rituals or a dramatic act reserved for the most desperate circumstances, it's a daily, inescapable reality of human life. Whether you acknowledge it or not, every decision you make, every priority you set, and every goal you pursue involves some form of sacrifice. And it's through sacrifice that we create value, build character, and transform potential into reality. The power of sacrifice lies in its ability to take something transient and transform it into something enduring. Imagine a student sacrificing their leisure time to study. In the moment, it might feel like a lost hours that could have been spent relaxing, socializing, or indulging in entertainment. But that temporary discomfort is exchanged for long-term knowledge, skills, and opportunities that can shape the course of their entire life. The immediate gratification of doing nothing is sacrificed in favor of the delayed but far greater gratification of achieving a goal. Sacrifice, in this sense, is not just about loss, it's about investment. It's about giving up something lesser to gain something greater. Sacrifice also serves as a clarifying force in our lives. When you choose to sacrifice one thing for another, you're forced to confront what truly matters to you. For example, imagine someone who wants to pursue a demanding career while also valuing time with family. These priorities will inevitably come into conflict and sacrifices will have to be made. Perhaps they'll decide to work fewer hours, sacrificing professional advancement for family time. Or perhaps they'll choose to focus on their career, sacrificing some family moments to build a better future. Neither choice is easy, and neither is inherently right or wrong. But in making those sacrifices, the individual defines their values and shapes their identity. Sacrifice forces you to confront what you care about most, and in doing so, it reveals who you are. The willingness to sacrifice also plays a crucial role in building resilience and strength. Life is full of challenges, and there are no shortcuts to overcoming them. If you want to become physically strong, you have to endure the discomfort of exercise. If you want to develop a skill, you have to sacrifice time and effort for practice. If you want to achieve a meaningful goal, you have to face setbacks, criticism, and failure along the way. Each of these sacrifices tests your character, and each one strengthens your ability to persevere. The process isn't easy, but it's necessary. Without sacrifice, there's no growth. Without growth, there's no fulfillment. Sacrifice also fosters a deep sense of gratitude and perspective. When you've worked hard for something, when you've paid the price through effort, discipline, or hardship, you value it more. Think about someone who has saved for years to buy a home. Every dollar saved, every luxury forgone, represents a sacrifice. When they finally achieve their goal, the home isn't just a building, it's a testament to their dedication and persistence. Contrast this with someone who inherits a fortune and buys a home without effort. While they may enjoy the result, they lack the same connection to it. The act of sacrifice imbues the reward with meaning. It transforms something ordinary into something extraordinary. On a broader scale, sacrifice is the foundation of every functioning society. The freedoms and opportunities we enjoy today are the results of sacrifices made by those who came before us. Soldiers who gave their lives for liberty, activists who endured hardship for justice, and innovators who invested their time and resources to create something new, all of them paid a price so that we could benefit. These sacrifices remind us that nothing worthwhile comes without cost. They also challenge us to consider what we're willing to sacrifice for the future. What are we doing today to ensure a better tomorrow, not just for ourselves, but for others? But sacrifice isn't always dramatic or grandiose. Sometimes the most profound sacrifices are the quiet, everyday choices that go unnoticed by the world. A parent sacrificing their personal ambitions to care for their child. A friend sacrificing their comfort to support someone in need. A worker sacrificing their immediate desires to secure a stable future. These acts might seem small, but they're the threads that hold communities together and make life meaningful. They remind us that sacrifice isn't just about personal gain, it's about contributing to something larger than ourselves. Ultimately, sacrifice is the price we pay for everything that matters. It's what allows us to turn chaos into order, dreams into reality, and potential into achievement. It's not always easy, and it's rarely comfortable, but it's always necessary. And the more you embrace it, the more you realize that sacrifice, it's the opportunity to create, to grow, and to make your life and the lives of others better. So the question isn't whether you'll have to sacrifice. The question is what you're willing to sacrifice for the things you truly care about. Because in the end, it's the sacrifices we make that define us, shape our futures, and give our lives meaning. Embrace them, and you'll find that the cost is always worth the reward. The idea that you must choose your sacrifices wisely is one of the most profound truths about life. Sacrifice is inevitable. Every action, every choice, and every commitment demands a trade-off. What matters most is whether the sacrifices you make align with your values, goals, and the person you want to become. Choosing sacrifices isn't about avoiding loss, it's about ensuring that what you give up is worth what you gain. This requires clarity, courage, and an unwavering sense of purpose. At its core, choosing your sacrifices is about prioritization. Life is finite. Your time, energy, and resources are limited, and you can't do everything or be everywhere. Every choice you make carries an inherent cost. When you choose to spend your time pursuing a career, you might sacrifice leisure or time with family. When you decide to dedicate yourself to a passion, you might give up the stability of a conventional path. These trade-offs are unavoidable, but the key is to approach them with intention. Instead of drifting aimlessly, letting circumstances dictate your sacrifices, you take control by deciding what matters most. Making wise sacrifices requires self-awareness. You must understand your values, goals, and long-term vision. Without this clarity, it's easy to fall into the trap of sacrificing what's truly important for what feels urgent in the moment. For example, many people sacrifice their health for their careers, thinking that working longer hours will lead to success and security. But without health, success loses its meaning. Similarly, others sacrifice relationships for personal ambition, only to realize later that the connections they neglected were the foundation of their happiness. When you lack self-awareness, you risk making sacrifices that lead to regret instead of fulfillment. Wisdom in sacrifice also means embracing delayed gratification. In a world that constantly tempts you with instant rewards, choosing long-term goals over short-term pleasures can feel like an uphill battle. But this is where real growth and achievement lie. Think about an athlete training for a competition. They sacrifice comfort, indulgence, and free time to push their bodies to the limit. The results of their efforts aren't immediate, but over time, their discipline and focus yield extraordinary outcomes. The same principle applies in all areas of life, whether it's building a career, nurturing a relationship, or pursuing personal growth. The sacrifices you make today lay the groundwork for the rewards of tomorrow. Courage is also essential when choosing sacrifices. Sometimes the things you need to let go of are deeply familiar, comfortable, or even cherished. You might need to leave behind toxic relationships, abandon old habits, or step away from environments that no longer serve your growth. These choices are rarely easy, but they're necessary. The willingness to sacrifice comfort for growth, security for opportunity, and familiarity for progress is what separates those who thrive from those who stagnate. Sacrifices made out of courage, though painful in the moment, often lead to the most profound transformations. Another aspect of choosing your sacrifices wisely is recognizing the difference between necessary and unnecessary losses. Not every sacrifice is worthwhile. Some are imposed on us by societal pressures, unrealistic expectations, or misguided beliefs. For example, sacrificing your authenticity to fit into a mold dictated by others is rarely a wise choice. When you give up who you are to gain approval, you pay a steep price in terms of self-respect and personal fulfillment. Wise sacrifices align with your authentic self and contribute to your growth and well-being. They challenge you to become better without forcing you to betray your core values. Wise sacrifices also require an understanding of balance. Sacrifice is not about giving up everything or living a life of constant deprivation. It's about making deliberate choices that create harmony between competing priorities. For example, you might sacrifice some personal ambitions to spend more time with loved ones, but that doesn't mean abandoning your goals altogether. Balance means finding a way to honor both your responsibilities and your dreams, understanding that life is a series of shifting priorities rather than rigid absolutes. Choosing sacrifices wisely means understanding the ripple effects of your decisions. Sacrifices don't just impact you, they affect those around you as well. When you decide to dedicate yourself to a demanding job, your family might feel the strain of your absence. When you prioritize personal goals, your friendships might require extra effort to maintain. A wise sacrifice takes these ripple effects into account. It acknowledges that no choice exists in isolation, and that your sacrifices must align not only with your individual aspirations but also with your commitments to others. In the end, wise sacrifices lead to a life of meaning and purpose. They teach you discipline, foster resilience, and help you build a future that reflects your deepest values. But they also require honesty, reflection, and an ongoing willingness to adapt. What might be a wise sacrifice at one stage of life could become unnecessary or misguided as your circumstances evolve. Regularly reevaluating your priorities ensures that your sacrifices remain aligned with the person you are becoming. You can't avoid sacrifice, it's a fundamental part of life. But by choosing your sacrifices with intention and wisdom, you ensure that what you gain is worth infinitely more than what you give up. This isn't just a strategy for achieving success, it's a philosophy for living a life of depth, integrity, and fulfillment. Every sacrifice you make is a step toward the person you want to be. Make each one count. Nothing is free. Everything of value, success, growth, fulfillment, and meaning comes at a cost. Whether it's your time, effort, or comfort, the price must be paid. The question isn't whether you'll pay, it's what you'll pay for and why. By understanding this truth, you embrace responsibility, lean into sacrifice, and take control of your life. You recognize that every choice matters and that your sacrifices define the person you become. True fulfillment lies in making wise, deliberate trade-offs. It's about investing in what truly matters, your values, goals, and the people you care about. It's about rejecting fleeting pleasures for lasting achievements, rejecting comfort for growth, and rejecting complacency for purpose. In every moment, you hold the power to transform your potential into reality if you're willing to pay the price. This is the beauty of life. The cost you bear shapes the reward you earn. Embrace it with clarity, courage, and conviction. Choose your sacrifices wisely, and you'll not only build a life of meaning and accomplishment, but also inspire others to do the same. Nothing is free, but the effort is worth it. And in paying the price, you create a life you can stand behind with pride.